she said!
Let them eat cake.
He took the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. We made it. Everything is like perfect this morning. It's awesome. It's so awesome. This is going to be an absolutely awesome episode. I'm glad you guys are joining us here today. I'm still getting my little windows all set up so I can see the chat and also see the show. Gotta kind of monitor that as we go. Yes, glad everybody made it. Ponyboy, glad you're here. Sean Atakis, glad you're here. So awesome. All right. Okay, so driving in this morning, I was like, the Northwest is so pretty when you don't have to work outside.
Yeah. And some days the traffic is better than others.
Yes, it wasn't bad today. So there was a while back. Actually, no, this was while I was in prison. While I was in prison.
The latest installment of...
Yeah, when I was in prison, there was this news story that was really weird. It came out of Kentucky. And what happened was a sheriff went into a judge's chambers and shot the judge cold.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So.
And I thought to myself, whoa, what is going on here? Either somebody's crazy or somebody is doing some vigilante justice that they thought couldn't be done any other way.
Okay. So there was a video I had teed up yesterday that we didn't play because we had a really long show. And it was a police chief that stumbled onto one of his officers, officers of the law on a DUI arrest.
Okay. Comes
up to him and he's like, officer, what's on your jacket? He was wearing a jacket and I guess it wasn't in compliance with the uniform. What? The letters aren't right or something. Okay. Take off your jacket. He's like, I'm in the middle of a DUI. Can I finish this? Take off your jacket. Police chief was drunk and walked up, and then he ended up basically, while the guy was trying to make the arrest, like touches him. And so the cop turns around and slams the police chief on the hood of the car. He's like, don't touch me. Yeah. He's like, you are interfering with business. I am going to arrest you if you don't stop. You are interfering with an investigation. This is like 101 obstruction, Yeah. And so anyways, then the police chief gets up and relieves him of duty and then demands a ride home. And the officer's like, no, I've been relieved, like takes off his badge and like, I'm going by himself. So goes back to the police station, drops off the car, leaves the police chief on the side of the road drunk. Anyways, I had it all teed up to play. The police chief, they did a little investigation, because he come back. This thing kind of turned into a kerfuffle, and it's all on body camera, of course. And the officer gets reinstated like a couple days later. Police chief gets investigated, eventually gets fired. But he has a history of this, abusing his power. And it's like his file's full of this stuff.
Oh, great.
But yet he's promoted. Well, this judge out in Kentucky, police chief, that's the executive branch. This judge out in Kentucky found himself in the middle of a child sex brothel in Chambers. So New York Post broke this story. When it happened, and journalists like Tracy Beans were hearing from people on the ground, and they're like, oh, there was a whole situation with kids on probation and like a bunch of stuff. And there was a sheriff's deputy who had a kid involved, and then that led to the sheriff being involved and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, apparently he felt like he couldn't get justice. Kentucky judge killed by sheriff ran courthouse like a brothel and traded sex for favors at twisted parties, a victim says. Oh, so there's the video of this.
That's sheriff. The one I saw.
A rural Kentucky judge gunned down his own chambers last year, ran a twisted sex ring where young women were coaxed into performing sexual favors just to get out of trouble, one of the alleged victims claims. Taya Adams alleged she was among those caught up in Judge Kevin Mullins' apparent sex for favor scheme that saw him and others in a tiny town of Whitesburg demand sex in exchange for cash or to get offenders off the hook. Adams told News Nation's Banfield that Mullins, who was shot execution style in his County Chambers, allegedly by his longtime sheriff pal, Sean Steins, last September, had warned her to keep quiet of the so-called depraved rings. We would do sex parties and perform shows and have sex with them for money, things like that. Adams alleged it was consensual, but it was the thing was that we were so young, and when they used it against us to destroy our lives later. Adams said she felt forced to go along with the judge's scheme because she feared Child Protective Services would somehow get involved and up into her life. They would make sure to make you feel as small and degraded and belittled as possible to take your power away, Adams said. It wasn't imminently clear if the woman had any prior run-ins with the law or if she was on CPS's radar at the time. She wanted to say it was just a given. She would keep her mouth shut about the apparent depravity, insisting who would believe it anyways, because the whole town was doing it. Nobody cares. They're all swingers. It's all a big party to them. It was all just so normal. Separately, Sarah Davis, a former deputy jailer at Lecter County lockup, told the outlet that she'd heard about the nasty and sickening stories to come out of the parties because, of course, in the prison, in the jails, they're talking about it. Pretty much everybody, nobody believes a criminal, right? Pretty much everybody in the county knows, she said, but it was confirmed to me after working in the county jail, especially after being invited to a party myself. She claims the only to add to the disturbing allegations that have emerged in the wake of Mullen's caught on camera slaying last year, including the slain judge had been seen running his courthouse like a brothel. It hasn't been since been revealed that one woman, Sabrina Adkins, threw Mullen's name into the mix during the 2022 criminal investigation into a Lecter County sheriff who was later jailed for rape and sodomy of a female inmate. Adkins, who claimed he was coerced by then. So they locked up an inmate for doing a sexual crime while they themselves were doing a sexual crime. Adkins, who claimed she was coerced by then Deputy Sheriff Ben Fields to perform sexual favors in exchange for staying under house arrest, alleged the judge was on the longstanding sextortion racket. I've seen Judge Mullins have sex with a girl in the judge's chambers, Adkins told police in her interview at the time. She added that Fields, who was fired in the wake of the probe, also had some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers just with the girl's sexual stuff. It is unclear if the alleged sextortion scheme had anything to do with Mullen's shooting. Authorities had previously refused to rule out if a possible sex scandal was the motive behind the bloodshed. The judge had been decades-long friends with the accused killer, who was spotted having lunch with him just hours before he was gunned down on September 18th. Chilling surveillance footage alleged capture the sheriff stepping into the pal's office and making multiple calls to his daughter before opening fire. His daughter was involved in this. His daughter had gotten into some trouble and, we could make this go away. The sheriff's attorney later described the execution style shooting as a crime of passion due to an extreme emotional disturbance. Steins, who was arraigned days later after the shooting, is being held in Eastern Kentucky jail without bond, has pleaded not guilty to a charge of murder of a public official. That is horrifying.
Yeah.
And, yesterday we played a video about weaponization of government. And I always go back to this conversation I had with this FBI agent in the summer of 2020. And we went on a walk and he's like, put your phone down. Let's go for a walk. Looking in hindsight, I have a lot of questions about this guy. Okay. Either way, I asked the question, with Russiagate, about Comey. He's like, listen, I'm an agent. I can't just go start an investigation, right? I have to have a probable cause, and that investigation is going to get approved. It's going to get looked at. He's like, I can't just open an investigation on my boss. I can't just open an investigation on 7th floor of the FBI. He's like, that's like chain of command stuff. It's just not how it works. And so he's like, I know that they're doing bad things. And
hold on. What's the chain of command?
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's no way for him to do anything. Right. So in a situation where it's like, hey, maybe I should file suit in this court. Hey, maybe we should take it to the federal court. Have you seen what's going on there?
So remember when I said there's two possibilities? This is the second possibility, and it's everything I hoped it wasn't. And I don't know what to do about these situations.
Public corruption is as old as time.
Yeah.
This is not something new. It's not like, this is the first time there's been a corrupt public official. Right. This is why the founding fathers wanted to diffuse power. If the king is of integrity and can just, go around and slay dragons all the time, then we wouldn't have these problems. But that's not how it works.
Sure, but if the whole town knows it's happening, what the hell's going on in your town?
Yeah.
What do you do about it then?
These are the kind of things where it's like, who's running this place?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's we the people. We consent to allow this to continue. I mean, I'm sure I don't know. I mean, again, the inmates know, the people involved in this know, they're talking, but again, it's that powerlessness. Like, who cares what the peasantry are saying? Let them eat cake.
Right.
Whatever. Until one day the sheriff's kid gets involved, and then all of a sudden it's like, kapooey! All right.
Yeah.
Patrick Byrne one time was asking somebody else that was deep in government about the corruption, and he goes, there's an old Hindu myth about the earth being on the back of a turtle, and it's like, so the Hindu guru is like, so, you know, where's the beginning? He's like, it's turtles all the way down. It's just, and turtles is like a new creation, right? It's their origin myth. And so he's like, when it comes to corruption in government, it's turtles all the way down. Like, it's just, no. I mean, again, just looking at it, big picture, pull yourself away for a moment. Take away all the patriotism and all the glory that the flag and everything that's associated with all of the pride of our nation and our country, and juxtapose that with Obama and basically being a traitor against everything that flag stands for, right? And actually starting an investigation to obstruct an elected president's administration and try to put him in jail and possibly shoot him in the head. Right? Like, this is a big deal, allegedly.
I don't know.
How do you separate the two? Right? How do you go, hey, I'm going to go spread some democracy and fight overseas and defend our rights, but meanwhile, the judge that's back home that doesn't have to get drafted, that had bone spurs when he was, you know what I'm saying, is doing that kind of stuff. It's turtles all the way down, man. Yep, it's turtles. So we just look at it and kind of laugh and go, huh, all the more reason to go. All the more reason to put yourself in a position in life where you're not dependent on it. Because again, we're peasants. We have to live here. Like, no matter what happens, we have to live here.
How do we feel about the sheriff? Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here.
I'm not casting stones.
Listen, when we're talking vigilante, right? I've been grouped into this. So I get to speak with some authority on being someone who's like, hey, you can't just go riot.
You can't just take the law in your hands.
You can't just take the law in your own hands and go riot. Yeah, you're right. There's consequences for that. I find myself going, that's a perfect situation where you got to get a really good jury. You got to get a really good jury because, you know, maybe there's a justification. And as the sheriff, I don't know, man, like, this is an unbelievably, like, you walked in and shot a guy in cold blood.
Yeah.
No bond. You know what I mean? Like, he's clearly already held. I don't know what they're going to do. The system wants to protect itself. You got to remember the people that are interested in this case might be running other similar courtrooms that want this case to go away, that want this guy to not be vindicated.
Yeah.
This is not a situation where it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, they're doing that. I got to do something. You know, this isn't that.
Yeah.
This isn't a situation where you're going to see true fairness. For me, if I was that sheriff, I'd be like, I need a jury, and the entire case revolves around voir dire or whatever they call it.
Yep.
It's jury selection. Voir dire, yeah. The whole case revolves around jury selection because that's system's going to protect itself. You know, the Trump administration has a January 6er that's still sitting in jail because he threatened FBI agents after he was arrested and raided and all that kind of stuff. Threatened FBI agents, and he's serving a life sentence now for threatening the life of FBI agents. So this administration isn't exactly like, oh, hey, yeah, you know, mea culpa. Like, no, you're still responsible for all of your choices. This is Ron DeSantis. He's on with Jesse Waters. And this goes, I'm sorry to start the show out with that dour topic. It's another one of these things. There's this constant theme. You cannot let them weaponize our virtue against us. They don't share the same virtue. Just like that woman was saying, like, the whole town's a bunch of swingers, like all these attorneys, and they go golfing and they've just got this, whatever that is going on there. That's not how us peasants live. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the way it works. So this is Ron DeSantis on with Jesse Waters, and he's talking about that CDL driver from India, the asylum seeker, you know, because apparently
just made a mistake.
Apparently in India, he was feeling threatened, so we're granting asylum. People vacation in India. I thought we grant asylum to countries like Cuba, where it's like, you know, no, not India. It's a democracy. I don't understand. They have a functioning law system. I don't understand. Anyways, he comes here, can't speak English, ends up getting his licenses and CDLs in some combination of Washington State, California, and New Mexico. Turns out he can't freaking speak English and killed 3 people trying to make a U-turn in a semi-truck on the interstate.
California. We had an issue where you had an illegal alien truck driver that got a commercial driver's license in the state of California, employed by a California company, kill 3 people in Florida. This guy didn't even speak English. We're bringing him up on charges. He's going to face a lot. And I can announce, Jesse, that I said initially the company needs to be held accountable. And we've been working with the federal government, and they are pulling that company's license to do business because you cannot employ somebody who cannot read the road signs.
So one thing, even with all these public corruption stories and how sad they are, we have to recognize that we know about it.
Yeah.
It's significant that we know about it. Like, we have to celebrate because now you're not ignorant. Now you can put these things in, in your cap, and you can go, oh, this might explain some funny behavior out of the court. Why is it that things don't happen reasonably? Now, that doesn't mean we always jump to the conclusion that everybody's a baby eater pedophile.
Are we going to play some clips from our governor? Our governor's a freaking moron when it comes to this stuff.
And you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes, man. Okay, so this is the Fox News breakdown when we started to find out the details right after the show broke yesterday. This was announced about this particular driver and his actual ability to read and speak English.
Dana, 28-year-old Harjinder Singh is expected back in Florida later this week to face state charges of vehicular homicide. He's currently being held in California without bond. He appeared in court yesterday with the help of an interpreter. He agreed to sign paperwork for his extradition, and Florida authorities must pick him up by August 27. Singh was driving on Florida's Turnpike last week when authorities say he attempted an illegal U-turn, blocking oncoming traffic. A minivan slammed into the trailer, killing 3 Florida residents inside. Following the wreck, investigators with the U.S. DOT gave Singh an English language proficiency test. According to a DOT press release, the driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to just 2 of 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 highway traffic signs. Because Singh, who entered the U.S. from Mexico in 2018, is an asylum seeker from India, the DOT says Washington State violated federal guidelines by issuing him a full-term commercial driver's license in 2023. And they believe New Mexico State Police may have failed to assess his English skills during a roadside inspection. Additionally, the DOT says it's investigating whether California acted within federal guidelines when it issued Singh a limited-term CDL in 2024.
So California issued him his first CDL, then Washington State issued him his permanent one.
We're so dumb up here.
So Ron DeSantis says the federal government is pulling that trucking company's license because they hired someone who couldn't speak English.
Yeah. And now this guy's going to get a world tour. He's in California. They're going to extradite him to Florida. I mean, and is this guy really can't speak English, or is he just scared?
Oh, no, he can't speak English.
Okay.
I'm certain of it. Yeah, I'm certain.
So what are we doing?
What are we doing giving them licenses?
Yeah. What are we doing here?
There is no quote national language. There's like kind of reasons for that, a lot of that had to do with the Amish, again, speaking German or whatever their dialect was. We have no national language, but our signs are all in English, except for around here. Some of them are in Indian. I don't know.
Or whatever.
Indian as a Native American, I should say. But I don't know, man. Like, this is extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. The fact that this guy thought he could make a U-turn on the road. So he did his CDL. Did he take his hours of class?
Well, when you look at look at the footage of him making the turn and the van slamming into the car, he's looking so confused. He's like, well, I'm making a turn here. What's going on?
In other countries, they drive differently. Right. And it makes me wonder, like, did you take the school? How did you get through the school? Did they give it to you in your native language? Or did you take the test? Did you do the walk around on the CDL test? Like, I've taken this test. I've done it. I don't understand how you can get through it.
I don't either.
Who are the instructors that speak your native language to ask you about the air brake and, ask you like all the little questions they have to ask you? I don't get it.
I don't know either. I mean, he must have had like some Indian friend that like helped him and coached him through.
There's a failure at like every level of this.
Yeah.
Like at every level of this, somebody could have said, you might not be safe. At every level of this, someone could have said, you can't read the stuff in your truck. So, you know, like you can't read, you know what I mean?
How about you failed? Come back when you can read.
Come back when you can read. Yeah. Yikes. In DC, they're going through a huge effort to clean up, and Stephen Miller was kind of interviewed on the fly. They've got the troops in. This is Pete Hegseth standing behind him here. And outside of this little, I don't know, convention center they're in, there's protesters. And Stephen Miller makes some interesting comments about this, but one of them says, you got a bunch of 90-year-old white people out there protesting. That's the same thing my wife comments when they had the No Kings protest up at the street corner by my house. And there was 60, 70 people out there. All of them are over the age of 60, white hair, like every single one of them, male and female, are basically boomers, like completely.
Just about a week ago, we had that same crowd standing over by the Viking, and you know they're all holding retarded signs like
No
"Stop,
kings,
stop the dictator."
Stop ICE. Yeah, yeah. Putin and Trump are friends. And like, yeah, exactly. And it's all old people. It's all old people. My wife is like, I don't understand. Like these are supposed to be like the mentors to grandkids and stuff, and they're out there. No king. It's like,
and I'm like, either these people are part of the plan, or they're part of the group that my grandfather would fall into that are completely just mentally captured by the party.
Narrative. Yeah, yeah.
And they don't realize that the party has gone astray.
That's the thing. It's like they've been kind of psyoped.
Yeah.
And listen, you know, you could look at the Republicans. We have our own group of people that are psyoped.
Well,
and the Republicans, by the way,
and I think that these people really are. And when I drive by them, I actually feel really bad. I'm like, look at those poor old folks out there.
I hold the mirror up so hard on myself. I'm like, I was that guy. I went to a protest, you know, and I'm like, was I victim? And
but to take time out of your day to go stand on a corner and say, honk if you hate the dictator. I mean, dude, you're committed to something that I'm not sure you understand.
He doesn't support the dictator in Ukraine. I mean, the suspended constitution. I mean, we can't have an election because we're at war. I love Trump's like, so in like 3.5 years, and the media's like,
and these are the same people that have, you know, all the colorful hair. And they're free in Palestine.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, boy.
So this is Stephen Miller talking about the dynamic of D.C. and the people that are protesting have no connection to this.
For too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of the city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city. They have no families they are raising in this city. They have no one that they are sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the vice president are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address one other thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old. And we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Stupid white
99%
who are all over 90 years old. It's the same group of people out here, by the way. They must have traveled to D.C.
Yeah.
That
Maybe
is,
they got some of that Act Blue money.
yeah. So a couple days ago, they found out, you know, again, more paid protesting, bringing people into DC to kind of staff this constant protest that's going on against ICE and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. What was Stacey Abrams going to do with all that $2 billion?
Oh, she's going to come up here again here in a couple minutes.
Oh,
we're going to get directly
yay.
to Stacey Abrams. In fact, she's going to be next on the, let me see what's next. Yes, she's going to be next on the docket here. So we're going to listen to 2 videos from Lee Zeldin talking about the EPA and what they've done there to recover all those quote unquote gold bars that got thrown off the Titanic, as that undercover video showed. He was tasked with going out and recovering those gold bars. So between the 2 interviews we're going to listen here, he's going to explain what they've done and what they found. Right. So again, this shows the peasant's perspective. Like, we're the peasants, right? And we're the little guy. We're the guy that's just got to go to work tomorrow, take care of the family. Like, we understand what's real and what's important. We live on the land. We're a part of our local communities. We go to churches. We participate in local scouting. Like, we're on the ground. DC is the flyover state. You know what I mean? DC is that thing that's disconnected from us, but yet has the power to rule and regulate us, and it trickles down through the states. Trump is using those levers to pull back funding and try to return power to the people, which is basically get government just to serve the people instead of serve itself, right? But Lee Zeldin is talking about the EPA. The EPA is one of the worst agencies when it comes to infringement on your rights.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys create rule. If anybody has ever dealt with wetland issues, if you've ever dealt with water right issues, if you've ever dealt with forestry issues, if you've ever dealt with fishery issues,
Any kind of quote unquote critical area.
any kind of quote unquote critical area, if you've ever dealt with floodplains, if you've ever dealt with migratory birds,
FEMA
hunting
certs.
licenses, what?
FEMA certs.
FEMA certs, stormwater regulations when you're building new construction,
NPDES permits.
it goes on and on. The degree at which the EPA has the ability to come in and say that has something to do with the environment. It either came from the environment, it's going to go back into the environment, it's on the environment, it's around the environment.
And your property rights be damned.
Your property rights be damned. Exactly. They're the ones who started to interpret wetlands in grandma's backyard that are just literally just wet spots in the yard and declared them navigable waterways and
Well,
put
and
federal
then get this.
jurisdiction over it.
And then get this, they claim that wetlands are the cleaners of the world. You know, it's where all the pollutants get captured. But guess what? You're not allowed to send a pollutant to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They can't do their job.
yeah, so we're not allowing them to do their job.
So they're dying because they're being starved of food. Yes, this is EPA is insanity. So to have someone like Lee Zeldin there, I really hope they can peel it apart. EPA had the West Virginia versus EPA case, and then there was the Loper Bright case that both had to do with EPA cases when they overstepped their bounds based on the Chevron doctrine case, which was back in 1984. They had basically, the legislature said, EPA, we want clean water. Go do it. And then they delegated the lawmaking and rulemaking capacity to the EPA. So the EPA came in and started making rules, enforced them like laws, fined people, put people in prison over violation of things that were never voted on by a legislature. They just had a go get us clean water. There's a direction. And they just went crazy. And it's every
all
direction.
those rules are based on best available science. Well, guess what? Whatever science you have today is the best that's available. They just make it up.
They just make it up. Yeah. So this is what he was doing. In these 2 interviews, we're going to get a pretty good picture of this.
When I was going through the confirmation process, this video comes through Project Veritas, but it was of a Biden EPA employee who was talking about how the agency was tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. He was also talking about the desire to get themselves jobs at the recipient NGOs. And these members of the Senate, it was coming from Senate Republicans who were saying, asking, demanding, if confirmed, would you please make it a top priority to quickly get to the bottom of it? Absolutely, was my response with great enthusiasm and eagerness. And our team quickly was able to trace down so much. Basically, every time we overturned a rock, we found something under it that was either filled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest, unqualified recipients, or reduced agency oversight. And when Democrats had one party rule in Washington, D.C., they passed this bill called the Inflation Reduction Act that had tens of billions of dollars to go out through EPA. Well, EPA didn't know how to spend tens of billions of dollars. So they decided to park $20 billion at an outside bank and to have that bank send the money through 8 pass-through entities. All these NGOs, pass-through entities that were riddled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest, former Obama and Biden officials, Democratic donors, as you pointed out. And the EPA was a party to the account control agreement with those prime recipients. But here's the thing, when the money goes through the prime recipients to others, in many cases also pass-throughs, EPA no longer is a party to the account control agreement. EPA is a losing oversight by design. Intentionally, these grant agreements, these arrangements were set up to tie EPA's hands behind its back. I could sit here with you. You can ask me 10, 15, 20 of the first most important questions that come to mind as far as where the money was going after it leaves the pass-through entities. And the crazy thing is how little I would be able to answer, even today, this far after Inauguration Day. That is by design. The DOJ has been investigating. The Inspector General's office has been investigating. I terminated all of it.
Is there any way of getting the money back?
Absolutely.
Yes.
This has been going through a litigation process. It's at an appeals court right now in the federal court system. And we are basically at the end of a closeout period now, because when these grants get terminated, there's a 120-day closeout period. And this money should be recovered for the American public. And I'm proud to be able to do my part with this great team here to figure out, one, where the money went. They tossed the gold bars off the Titanic. Right. I was told to go out and find the gold bars. We found the gold bars and we're bringing them back on board. And we're doing that for the American public, and we're proud of it.
So the money starts funneling around. They've recovered a bunch of it. They are trying to get a bunch back, and they're in court trying to get it. This is $29 billion. $29 billion. So here's more of this conversation with even more detail.
So far, you've scaled back the reach of this place. You talk about saving a lot of money. What is that number?
Over $29 billion of grants I've canceled.
$29 billion of grants.
Our operating budget annually is about $10 billion. We've canceled over $29 billion. $27 billion of it was the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, part of the Inflation Reduction Act, when President Biden had one-party control of Congress. And it was filled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest, unqualified recipients, reduced agency oversight, money going through pass-throughs, the dollar getting diluted. And if the argument is going to be made that a dollar should get spent to remediate environmental issue, then spend it on remediating an environmental issue. Instead, they're giving it to their friends, former Biden and Obama officials and Democratic donors. President Trump talks about Stacey Abrams as one linked NGO to her that received $2 billion.
Is that true?
Yes, in 2023.
And it was going out the door.
Yes, in 2023, that NGO received $100. In 2024, they got $2 billion from the Biden EPA. They had to complete training in their grant agreement, page 7, that says they have 90 days to complete training called How to Develop a Budget. Yet, in the first 21 days, they can start spending the money, billions of dollars. Now, you could ask all sorts of great questions about where the money goes once it goes through pass-throughs. And deliberately, by design, I won't have answers to basic questions.
So this pass-throughs, I mean, you have to be almost an investigator to see the bank shots of where this money goes, right? I mean, that's part of what you're trying to find out. Have you been shocked by what you've found?
Stunning. And in one case, for example, in the Solar for All program, a $7 billion program that's been canceled, we found examples where there were 4 pass-throughs and they're all getting a VIG. So it's not like the dollar goes from an appropriation of Congress to a dollar that gets used for some good reason on the back end. Think of how much that dollar gets diluted when you have 4 pass-throughs, each taking their 15+%.
Yeah. it gets less money. It is not going to help environment.
Drug dealers understand this.
Dude, yeah, exactly. Dude, this again, I'm never shocked, but sometimes I'm in awe of how brazen these people are.
Yeah.
Having orgies in the judge's chambers, getting drunk when you're off duty and approaching your officers and relieving them of duty, throwing gold bars off the back of the EPA to be recovered by your friends and associates. You know, the Obama administrators, the Biden administrators, Stacey Abrams. There was an example with the Stacey Abrams one. In 2023, that NGO that got $2 billion from the EPA had $100. And then in 2023, got $2 billion. And as part of that, they had to take a 100-day training on how to make a budget.
I know. If you give me half that,
spend the money after 21 days.
I'll promise to do double the training for half the money.
You know, when you talk about like capitalism and seed capital, and you know, by the time you've got $2 billion, like the budget thing isn't really a conversation. Yeah. When one CEO says to another CEO, "How do your budgets look?" There's not like, "So do you use like GAPS accounting?" Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you use Excel?
So, you use, yeah. So no, it's just like, no, you got your books. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting a training course. And by the way, who's offering that training course? Because if anybody's ever been through like government standardized training, it's like you don't even get trained on things that are relevant. Like when you become a realtor, all the training has nothing to do with being a realtor.
They don't even teach money or civics in high school.
I think it's impossible for them to do it. Yeah. All right. On a lighter note, aside from just lost billions in government corruption, Mormon women can now wear sacred undergarments. Some wonder, Mormon women can now wear new sacred undergarments. Some wonder why now. So apparently the Mormon Church has changed its undergarment requirements for women, allowing them to wear sleeveless shirts.
Oh, I did not know this.
For those of us that grew up in the Mormon Church with sisters.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. There's a lot of frustration in the church that it is not acknowledging the fixation that it had on women's bodies. They're really pretty sad. This is some member that's commenting on this. The church's focus on modesty for girls and women, Reese said, became extreme in the late 1990s and early 2000s. As an example, she pointed to a church periodical taking an angel depiction and adding sleeves to it. A part-time legal assistant, Rachel Gerber, remembers wearing a tankini swimming suit to a church activity when she was 14, but a leader told her it was inappropriate and that she had to go cover up. I got like pissed. I was super upset. And someone was like, "Rachel, you have to wear it or go home," she recalled. Gerber is a mom of two, runs a social media account called LDS Changemakers to promote gender equality within the church's current policies. She believes modesty in garments represent larger inequality in the church, and there are new temple undergarments for men as well. But Gerber says it's always been much easier for men to wear fashionable clothing with garments. "It controls my life much more than it controls my husband," she said. He can wear basically whatever he wants. The sleeve change is something many women have wanted for at least 15 years, but the church hasn't acknowledged it. It declined to comment for the story and didn't respond to NPR's interview request. A short church statement from when the news broke first says some members live in hot, humid areas and the garment changes to bless them and others who might benefit. At the end of the day, Gerber calls the sleeveless garment a win and a good step forward. I don't think leaders of the church hate women. I just think they are within the patriarchal system trying to best to function within it. But there's definitely more we can do. She said, this change signals that church leaders are listening. The new garment styles will be available in the U.S. later this year. But apparently they're making international orders to get these things shipped in. Like this little thing. I just think that was kind of fun. You know, a little light, but apparently you're going to see a lot more shoulders if you're in Mormon country.
Well, you know, I don't know why they can't do this for the men too. I've been wanting to wear a wife beater forever.
So, you know what's funny? The whole wife beater thing, right? So I grew up in California, or I spent some time in California. I grew up all over the place. But when I was in California, a lot of people would wear wife beaters, right? Yeah. And it was like actually a real big thing among the Hispanics. That was like the height of that Jinko pants and wife beaters era. Yeah. And so I always kind of associated it with kind of more of the cholo gangbanger kind of thing, right? Yep. Or just super red trash, deep. Yep. You know, just kind of wasn't really my thing. You know, being Mormon.
It's mostly a joke for me, but also, you know, these women that are like, oh, we have it so bad. Dude, the guys don't like wearing this stuff either. You're wearing 2 t-shirts. It's 90 degrees out. I'm sweating my balls off. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So in prison, though, you can buy wife beaters, right? So that's like everybody's got tons of wife beaters. And in Missouri, where it was 100,000 million degrees and we were in a brick oven without AC, literally, I was in no AC and I had a broken window. So it was like sleeping outside.
Yeah. When I say I want to wear a wife
outside,
beater,
it was in my room.
when I say I want to wear a wife beater, really, I just want to go shirtless.
John Attaka says, hate the name, call them tank tops.
Sure.
No, they have white beads on it, Dad. They are white beaters. Sometimes mispronounced wife beaters because of the people who wear them. It's white beaded shirts, okay, tank tops. We just mispronounce it sometimes.
I've never heard that one.
That's what they are. They're white beaded shirts. That's the way the fabric is. It's the little white bead sewing thing or whatever. Anyways, so I come home and my boys have discovered these white bead tank tops.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm in like little junior prison, you know? Gym shorts.
Little
white.
mini inmates.
Yeah, little mini inmates running around. Oh, it's fun. Anyways, it's
The
just
things that trigger you now.
there are funny things that trigger me. Orange, when I saw the guy in his orange jumpsuit,
Yeah.
I remember thinking I will never wear orange again, and now I kind of feel that way about khaki. It was orange in jail, khaki in prison. I'm kind of done with khaki. Same thing with those khaki pants that they made me wear. Like, not cool, man. Not cool. Like Dickies pants, kind of. All right, so this is Kash Patel on with, I can't remember his name. He was in the Trump administration. Larry Kudlow.
Yep.
He's on with Larry Kudlow, and he's talking about the grand conspiracy, and talking about taking out people inside of the Department of Justice and DOJ that were involved in it.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
You came in, you're there now, the leader.
Another story.
But
in prison, you see here, Fox Business has a ticker on the bottom, right? This is the Chiron, and it's got Dow and S&P and all this stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so some of the guys would put the news on CNN because it had a ticker. Because people just walk into the TV room, kind of look for a few minutes, and they're reading the ticker, and then they'd walk out. So Fox News doesn't run a ticker. Excuse me.
Hold on. Why are they checking the ticker? Are they like doing stock trades?
No, not this ticker. The Chiron.
Okay.
Like on CNN, it'll just have news headlines on the bottom, kind of running along the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Fox used to do that years ago. They stopped doing it. So, like in the morning, when people are kind of coming in and out of the TV room, the independents, the neutrals, the Muslims, basically, they'd leave the TV on CNN only because it had the Chiron.
Okay.
Because you could read the news. So I was like, put it on Newsmax because it has a Chiron. But they did like abbreviated highlights, so it wasn't as much context news. Point is, Fox loses people because they can't just have the TV on silently with the headlines running.
Okay.
So sometimes Fox News Business would be on, and you had the ticker on the bottom here with the stocks, not just news headlines. And so there was a group of blacks one time that were in the sports section with their chairs turned around to watch the white TV. Whole story. I'm gonna have to do like a diagram layout of the TV room sometime because it was like a converted office space sunroom thing. Okay, so they're turned around and they're watching the news, and I've got the remote control, and I'm sitting by myself in the white section with all the blacks behind me. Okay. I didn't make the rules, but I walked in late and I got control of the remote because I'm white on the white TV. So put it on Fox News, and the guys are back there talking, and they like chatting it up with me a lot. So they're like, hey, J6, hey, J6. So they'd call me, hey, J6, what's that on the bottom there?
Okay.
They didn't know what Dow was. They didn't know what S&P 500 was. They didn't know what NASDAQ was, any of that at all. They're like, what are those numbers? Like, that's not, they know sports scores. We don't recognize any sports teams. They'd occasionally see a word like Apple that would drive by that they would know. And they know it was money.
What team is S&P?
So I had to explain. I'm like, that's the stock market prices. And that's like, like the Dow Jones. And who's the Dow Jones? So I got a handful of those questions like, what's the Dow Jones? And, these are stock prices. Well, what are stocks? Well, the stock market. And like one would know and the other wouldn't know. And then they'd start informing each other. Freaking hilarious. I wish I could have recorded that. I could be like, it's like Man on the Street in the ultimate version. Hey, like, what are those numbers? stock market.
This sounds like a start of an SNL skit.
How do you even start to explain that?
I don't know.
That's how I felt. I was like, I just want to watch the news, guys. I want to see if I'm getting pardoned. Like news today. All right.
The old leaders who assigned this and directed this operation, have they been dismissed from the FBI?
Every single person that has been found to have weaponized or participated in that process has been removed from leadership positions. And if and when we find any others that are involved in this, as you know, this is a 37,000 person agency, we are going to take swift action just like we have. And just look at the record of the people that have been dismissed for their actions and what they're saying when they get out there about how they personally opined about the weaponization of this place, just like one of Peter Strzok's friends did recently this past week.
Right.
That's how we know we're finding the right folks. Right. And we're going to keep doing it. It's not done yet, but we're going to stay on it.
All right. I get it. Thank you for that answer. I know you're going as far as you can go. Another question. Why was Mar-a-Lago invaded? What were they looking for? This is speculation. No one knows to this day. I mean, it happened several years ago. We'll probably be talking about this for years ahead. The subject of Russiagate came up at the Alaska meeting of the two leaders, Russia and the United States, Putin and Trump. What were they doing there, Cash? Does anybody have any idea? Why was the FBI? What was the FBI looking for?
Creating a crime where one did not exist. The answer has been definitive. There was no crime. There was no predicate to go and invade Donald Trump's home. We have answered that definitively. Now, you know me, working backwards from that point, we are going to hold people accountable who weaponize that system of justice for the following reason. We, the FBI, must restore accountability and credibility to the American public so we can arrest more top 10 predators, so we can go after more terrorists, so we can find the other people involved in Abbey-gate. These are the cases that matter to the FBI, and the distractions, to put it mildly, from the prior leadership regime are what thwarted the American public's belief and credibility in the FBI. And so when they do raids like Mar-a-Lago, now the American public knows it was made up. It was completely false. It was completely unconstitutional pursuant to our judicial courts. And we are working into those matters to say, why did you do it? We know there was no reason. Now it's time for accountability. And that's who we're talking to. And by the way, Larry, I'd like to announce on your show, if you got nothing to hide and you were DOJ and FBI before, you're welcome to come talk to the FBI at any time. And if you don't want to come talk to us, we're going to come find you, and we're going to put you in an investigative position and posture that will make you feel very uncomfortable, kind of like you did when you weaponized the government. The only difference is we're going to be doing it on a factual, legal, and constitutional basis to do so.
Is there any doubt in your mind that the progenitors of this whole Russiagate nonsense was you can
the administration, Comey, Barack, all those guys. So, them is big fighting words. Like, you just accused public officials of corruption. And he did say, now there has to be accountability. You raided a man's house, regardless of what his former status was. You raided a man's house without any proper predicate. And you just basically like, that's a fact. That's true. This is the way there's nothing there. You raided a man's house. You went through his wife's underwear drawer. You totally violated all of his privacy, regardless if he's a president or not. You did that. Do you do that to normal American citizens? If you can do it to the president, do you think they have any compunction from doing it to you? Right? A guy who's got half the country's got him under a microscope, all eyes on him, and you're just going to raid his house without cause? Totally manufactured. You're going to put Thomas Mackey in prison for posting a meme with no injured party. You're going to put me in prison when all the officers involved say I didn't hurt, harm, injure, or threaten them and accepted my apology. So there's really no claim made against me. You think in that world that you're going to go get quote unquote justice where the judges are doing who knows what in their chambers and you've got the EPA spending money like crazy. So yeah, good luck reporting some financial crime to the financial criminals. You know, it's like they'll just use it. You can go read the Atlas Shrugged books. It describes it perfectly. Hey, we want you to break the rules because then we have you under our thumb. We don't want a nation of law abiding citizens. Then where's the control? Right? Where's the levers, the blackmail?
Yeah.
These are like kind of stunning admissions. There has to be something done. And I guess we'll just go to work today and, you know, pay for food tomorrow. Because regardless of what happens, we kind of got to live here, don't we?
Well, that's what happened to me, 9/11. I got up and I watched the towers fall, and then I went to work.
Yeah.
I was like, what else am I going to do? I guess we're under attack. I'm going to work.
And I went to try to prevent and
you know what I mean? Like, just go about your lives.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. J6 happened, and I was back at work. As soon as I got flown home, I was back at work sitting in my excavator.
Yep.
Definitely wasn't thinking about the follow through of overturning the government. I didn't even negotiate like what seat of power I was going to get for my role. I just went and like overthrew the government and just went back to work.
Obviously, you were going to be president.
I just went back to work. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was going to be in charge of the EPA, but apparently not. You know, he went on Shaman, beat me to it. He got to sit in the Senate. You know what I mean? Like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. But yet, this cabal of people, they went from the Obama administration, then behind the scenes in the Trump administration, they kept going and going and going and going. Meanwhile, I went and went, nah! And then I went home.
Well, from their perspective, if you can give all your friends a couple $1 billion every couple of years, I mean, you definitely want to retain those seats of power.
What you can get accomplished. Yeah. If I'd have known I had billions of dollars on the line, I thought I was doing it for king and country. I didn't realize I was going to have done it for my pocketbook. Yeah. I'm joking. It's all hyperbolic rhetoric. I don't want these words used against me someday in some court clipped up. Trying to overthrow government. Failed, wanted run EPA.
They can make an AI video better than that.
QAnon shaman became senator.
You sound like Brian Williams doing the, what's that? The rap.
All right. This is Tulsi Gabbard talking about cuts she's making at the Office of Director of National Intelligence, ODNI.
Fast forward to where we are today. ODNI has more than doubled in size. It is bloated with bureaucracy. It is rife with politicization, weaponization, the very thing that it was created to try to prevent and get after. And unfortunately, it has failed to meet its mandate. And so this launch today of ODNI 2.0, as you said, we will save taxpayers more than $700 million every year, cutting the organization by over 40% and making sure that those who are working at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence are aggressively getting after our core mission, which is really ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Fast forward to where we are today.
So that's good. Maybe prevent the next 9/11.
That's nice.
Again, it's just cuts. I'm happy to see cuts all the way around, right? Trim the government. Things will be better. I'm kind of even more and more. I used to be really anti-privatization, but now I'm like, actually, when it's privatized, I know I'm dealing with a corporation. It's different.
You're dealing with a corporation that has to have your outcomes in their interest.
They also have to have your consent.
Right.
Like, I'm not forced to deal with a corporation at the same. Like, they can provide a public service and they can be funded and all that kind of stuff. But it's really easy for me to see XYZ Corp with a federal contract and go, oh, well, I don't want to do business with XYZ Corp.
Well, and also you can, if they're providing a service, you can barter and say, you know, I don't really like your service. With the government, they're just like, yep, that's what you get.
Yeah. And their contract gets renewed occasionally.
Yeah.
So they may not have the next contract. Imagine if TSA was a private contractor, it'd get better.
Yeah.
It'd get better.
Well, apparently it is getting better with the new facial and recognition and fingerprint scanners. Yeah, I know. But they've been running those ads here in Washington like, oh, make sure you get your facial ID, blah, 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 so you can go right through. Yeah, exactly.
Go get a passport card. Okay, this is JD Vance talking about the relationship with Elon Musk and Donald Trump and kind of how he feels like they're better together than separate, but they're still a little bit cold to each other. I do notice that Elon has like completely disappeared from any major news cycle. Like, he's back to business and he's not making many political comments other than just to comment on the budget from time to time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that's just who he is. He came in like a firestorm into politics, teamed up with Trump, and then kabowie! He just off in his orbit, and now he's not popular. It's crazy.
I mean, you know, he's probably still on a firestorm. We're just not watching.
Oh, he's doing his business stuff.
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no doubt we're going to see, like, you know, we're gonna see a tiny house on on the moon in like 3 weeks and be like, brought to you by X.
Yeah, it has rockets on it.
Deport them here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is JD Vance commenting on all that.
He's obviously got a complicated relationship right now with the Trump White House. So my argument to Elon is like, you're not going to be on the left, right? Even if you wanted to be, and he doesn't, they're not going to have you back. That ship has sailed. And so I really think it's a mistake for him to try to break from the president. So my hope is that by the time of the midterms, he's kind of come back in the fold. But yeah, I don't know that he would take my call right now about anything.
Really?
I'm sure he would. I kid. I'm sure he would take my call. But obviously, the drama around him and the White House over the last couple of months. Again, my hope is that just kind of cools down a little bit, because he did help us a lot in the election. The president even said,
it was great.
All his frustration, Elon was a very, very critical part of the team last election. And so my hope is by the midterms, things are kind of back to normal.
Right.
Yeah.
That would
We'll
be
see.
nice.
We'll see.
I was going to ask that question. Now I don't have to.
Knock on wood. I'm always, my attitude is I try to be sort of pretty Big Ten about this stuff. Like, if you're patriotic, you're not trying to stick your knife in the back of the president, you're not trying to betray the movement. I don't care about these like minor little disagreements and issues. We have to kind of win with the whole movement together. And that's kind of the attitude that I try to take. He's obviously got a complicated relationship right now
and
with
one of the things we know about Trump is he focuses on foundational principles. Why do we do this? Why is it built this way? Can we do it better? Right. And he's like, and I've thought this too. It's like, if we're just arguing over tax rates, we're in a pretty good place as a country. But when we're like arguing over existential things like, are you a man or a woman? And, should we or should we not punish crime? The tax rate becomes kind of nebulous, doesn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about existential things here. Let's stay big tent, big picture. The challenge I see with Elon Musk and Donald Trump is Elon Musk called Donald Trump a pedophile. I mean, that's hard to come back from.
Yeah.
In prison, there's 2 words you never call someone. There's the B word and there's punk. And I watched a situation where somebody thought he was maybe playfully calling someone both of those words, and it didn't turn into a fight, but it turned into we're not playing trivia together anymore, buddy. That was between a Pakistani Al-Qaeda member and a Kansas City gang member, and a J6er terrorist. We were playing trivia together.
About ready to set it off.
I remember thinking when I was in prison, I have the weirdest network. Like this, you make friends. Like, you live with these people. Like, you use the bathroom together, you shower together, you eat together, you fight together, you hide your contraband together, you look the other way when they're hiding their contraband. You know what I mean? Like, you're in it with these people. Like, at a certain level, it's like, this is all we have. Like, it's us versus the guards. Like, we have to protect ourselves from them sometimes.
Yes, and comrade.
It's weird. Okay, it's weird. It was explained to me, like, when I was in Philadelphia, this one guy's like, you're on our sides of the track now. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you're an outlaw. Like, you don't go to them for help anymore. You come to your local gang. They'll help you out. Like, you're an outlaw now. He's like, I'm like, oh man, that's why I understand that my gang is bigger than your gang. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, I'm not an outlaw. I'm just saying, when you're there, you're like,
just making observations here.
Yeah. And I've joked with my wife, pure jokes. I'm like, honey, money's not a problem. Like, I got friends, like, a couple bricks of white baking powder and wada bing, bada boom, we're driving a Land Rover. Like, I make a couple phone calls and a few FedExes. And next thing you know, I'm walking around in a
Barry Seals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is just a phone call away. Like, I got friends, I got friends that are still in the business. Anyways, it just was like the weirdest thing that I could talk to them. And I sometimes wonder, because my role on my prison block was kind of like, I could liaison a little bit with the guards because I had the J6 thing going on, and, they were generally Trump supporters. And so I could walk into the guard shack and talk to the guards for like an hour, and nobody really was suspicious of it or anything, because they kind of knew. And then I'd walk out and I could liaison. I could get a heads up on moves or upcoming shakedowns, or, just kind of like the information you pick up. I could relay that, and I could also tone down the mood. If the guard was walking around being real banging on doors, shining lights in the walls when it's not nighttime, like they're kind of on one. I could go in and have you listened to any good podcasts lately? Like I just get to watch the news. Have you listened to Steven Crowder? Well, yeah, because like there was
a little distraction. And
yes, I do that and just kind of tone the temperature down when I knew that the Pisces were making hooch.
Well, that's nice of you.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. I really didn't get involved in any nonsense, but that was like my value proposition in there. And I think that there's people like Trump who, for whatever reason, is able to do that. He's been in the business world. Politics didn't matter. Let's just get the deal done. He understands win-lose negotiations and how to leverage those types of negotiations to find.
He turned it into a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, he's really phenomenal at doing this stuff. Politicians are about bureaucracy. They're about process. They're about rulemaking. They're about procedure and all this kind of stuff. Trump kind of cuts through that. And Marco Rubio talks about how that is so significant when dealing with Putin and Zelensky. And these guys are not going to talk to each other, but somehow Trump is able to be the bridge, and it's impressing even the Europeans.
By the way, President Trump is the only leader in the world, acknowledged by all the Europeans, the only leader in the world that can talk to both of them and bring them both to a meeting is Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States. He's the only one. And the fact that he's willing to do it is something that every American, including Democrats, should be happy that we have a peace president. We should be proud that we have a president that's made peace a priority in his administration. By the way, President Trump is the only leader.
So Trump is the only one that can communicate with both of them. And you know what I think Trump could probably do? I bet he could get Zelensky and Putin to sit down for a cup of coffee together.
I bet he could. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard and smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon because freedom isn't scooped with plastic.
That's my favorite part.
A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does.
You know what's crazy about coffee and any other addictive substance, right? Is you buy it every day and you're like, oh, it's just a cup. It's just a $2 or whatever. Or you buy, one bag of coffee at a time. It's kind of expensive, but you drink it every single day and it kind of spreads out. If you're a coffee drinker, $99, you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
You're going to spend it. So instead of buying it 1 week at a time or whatever, you get a month's supply. But more than anything, you get a golden spoon.
Dude, if you're buying a mocha a day, you're spending way more than $100 a month.
You know, one of the most depressing things I saw was this chart about like home ownership and how it was like home ownership is higher amongst black coffee drinkers than latte drinkers.
Oh, really?
It has to do with, the extra $1,800 a year you spend on the milk and cream.
Yep.
It's pretty interesting. All right. This is Scott Bessent. He's talking about only Trump can win the war and how he leverages into these by using business.
Since he got into the Oval on January 20th, President Trump has been talking about not sending any more money to Ukraine. We did this economic partnership, which once this conflict stops, could pay off big for the American taxpayer. We can recoup our investment. If Ukraine does well, we do well. The conflict stops, and the conflict's got to stop for the economic partnership to really kick in. We're going to start with some investments now. So I think President Trump is very vigilant. Right now, we are selling arms to the Europeans, who are then selling them on to the Ukrainians. And President Trump's taking a 10% markup on the arms. So maybe that 10% will cover the cost of the air cover.
Now, what I love about Donald Trump is he doesn't view the government as a zero-sum nonprofit where the whole point is to spend all the money and, never make anything. He's like, no. We got debt to pay off. Like we're gonna mark it up. And he just tells everybody, we're marking it up. You're gonna mark up. Oh yeah, no, we'll help rebuild Ukraine, but you're gonna pay us. You know what I mean? Like he's turning things into monetary assets that were major liabilities. If all he does is make it so our foreign wars are neutral, holy cow, we'll probably fight forever. But anyways, it's really interesting. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for the main body of the show today. We are going to jump over into private, where we are going to hear from Patrick Byrne and Emerald Robinson about some of the new revelations coming about election integrity. And we're going to be hearing about some of the things that are being done. So good news there. So with that, for those of you that are on the public side, we bid you adieu. We recommend you get onto Rumble Premium so you can join us on the private, where we do an extra 15 or so minutes after the show every day. And we appreciate having you guys all here. Don't forget to check leftbehindandwithout.org. Lots of kids out there need some help. And with that, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. For those sticking around for private, we'll see you in just a minute.